India and Poland are celebrating the 70th anniversary of the formal establishment of diplomatic relations. Over the last 7 decades, both countries have formed a robust partnership based on opposition to imperialism and racism, as well as commitment to democracy and pluralism. It was Jawaharlal Nehru, India's first Prime Minister, who was instrumental in kindling ties in 1954. Morarji Desai then elevated relations with his visit to Warsaw all the way back in 1979. Now, after 45 years, Prime Minister Modi has touched down in Poland again. But what's the interesting fact? The interesting thing is that the link between the two nations precedes India's independence. We share a historic connect forged during the Second World War. Indian and Polish soldiers fought shoulder to shoulder at Monte Cassino in Italy from January to June 1944. This was a pivotal battle that helped turn the tide against the Axis forces. It was in this battle that the Allied forces broke through the Gustav Line, which was a series of heavy fortifications constructed by the Germans in the Apennine Mountains. At a height of 1,700 feet, Monte Cassino's terrain is at par with the Himalayas. 50,000 Indian troops and 56,000 Polish soldiers braved a grueling uphill struggle to defeat the Axis powers and helped open the road to Rome. However, both nations bore heavy losses. 5,504 Indian soldiers and 1,200 Polish troops sacrificed their lives at Monte Cassino. The valor of the Polish and Indian troops is remembered till date. In fact, Prime Minister Modi visited a monument in Warsaw commemorating this battle and the shared historical connect. We'll talk about this with our guests and discover the overlaps as well as the deep-rooted connections that both these countries have had at a time when the Prime Minister is in Poland. Dr. Vaseline Popovsky, Professor and Vice Dean of O.P. Jindal Global University, joins us on the show. Major General Harsha Kakkar, Strategic Affairs Expert, also with us on the program. Colonel Padma Senan, Strategic Affairs Expert, also joins us on the show. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation. Dr. Popovsky, if I can begin with you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Well, like I said in my opening monologue as well, that the connect between India and Poland is not only limited to the Prime Minister's visit. There has been a very rich history of fighting evil together. Do you think that the evils of today's time are also something that can be taken on by both the governments, but these are different evils today that we are dealing with?
Absolutely. It's an historical moment, and we are all very happy, the Europeans and Indians. I live in India, but I'm in contact with my friends in Poland and the rest of Europe. It is historic, and it's kind of a reminder how much those democracies, as you said, can do together back then in the Second World War. And in the situation of today, we also face a lot of challenges globally. And obviously, Poland and India and other democracies should join their forces to meet those challenges, to defeat the aggressors, to reduce the war crimes and everything else which needs to be done in the 21st century. Very historic. Everybody I spoke with in Poland, in Ukraine, in Bulgaria, in the rest of Europe are very happy with the visit of Prime Minister Modi. I was asked also to speak to several TV channels in Europe, and everybody celebrates this visit, and the expectations are really, really very high. Tomorrow, Prime Minister Modi goes to Ukraine, which is also a historic visit, and that is expected also to go very, very well.
All right. Major General Harsha Kakkar is also with us on the broadcast. So, General Kakkar, your impressions of this historical visit. Obviously, India was occupied by the British when this, token of camaraderie was exchanged between these two great powers. But the fact of the matter is that this outreach in itself, is becoming, an example of sorts for the world to follow. Everybody's perhaps attracted to the West, to the Western European countries, to China and maybe Southeast Asia. But the fact of the matter is that it's Eastern Europe and Central Europe where, a lot of development, unnoticed development is going on, and India can definitely stake claim to such healthy partnerships.
Firstly, let's come down to the Battle of Monte Cassino, where PM Modi did lay the reed today. This was where 4 Infantry Division, currently based in Allahabad, had participated. And the offensive was led by one of its brigades, which is the 7 Infantry Brigade, still a part of it. For those who are not in the know, the Museum of 4 Infantry Division in Allahabad does have remnants of this battle. It's there. It's covered very well in the museum. And with the way the IDS is now moving with basically linking 47 museums of the armed forces together onto a common platform, which is a work in progress and should be done in a few months. It will be available to the Indian public to see these memories of the battle, which is there in the 4 Infantry Div Museum in Allahabad. I happened to serve with them not once but twice, and I'm well aware of the availability of the material in the division. Secondly, coming to the visit, we've got to realize that the visit has got multiple connotations. Take it or leave it, it depends on the way you want to look. The fact is, after the visit in July to Russia, during which there was a lot of criticism, especially since the visit coincided with the NATO summit in Washington, there was a feeling that unless, if India wants to really balance its ties on both sides, there should be a visit to Ukraine. There was an invitation which was there, and that is now being used. There's a lot of talk of India being possibly involved in trying to negotiate a solution with Ukraine. I wouldn't take that at face value. We've never believed in getting involved unless both sides request us to. Now, coming to the visit to Poland, at the outset, it's something which was long overdue. Poland is a very major power in Eastern Europe, and frankly, despite the fact that it has its own problems with Russia, the PM went there, spent 2 days there. He had a series of meetings and is looking to enhance ties with Poland. Is a clear indicator that India is not strictly an ally on any one direction. We're looking at expanding, and the way the PM spoke when he spoke to the Indian diaspora, and then what transpired in his meeting with the Polish leadership of moving ahead on trade and on other issues, especially on the fact that Poland stood by India when its students were vacating Ukraine. The Indian diaspora in Poland stood by them. And I think we really need to enhance ties with Eastern Europe, and I think Poland will be our gateway. Our ties are currently at just about $5+ billion, but I think we have a lot more to go. And with the way we are moving, I think Eastern Europe is going to be the next direction in which the Indian government is going to be looking.
Okay. That's a great point, sir. And Colonel Padma Senan is also with us on the broadcast. Sir, if you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you, Vineet.
So, right. So the consensus here is that, this outreach is not only about, visiting a particular country after 45 years. It's also about understanding where our growth is strategically and economically.
Yeah, most certainly. The focus is now shifting to the Eastern Europe, and India being a major player and a very fast developing economy has a major role, not only in the economic world, but in the strategic thinking and in the way that strategy develops across the world. And the shift, the hot areas of global, power play is in the Middle East and in the Eastern Europe. And our role as a major developing power is unquestionable.
Right. And so in terms of Prime Minister's visit to Eastern Europe and his subsequent visit to Ukraine also, how do you look at that strategically as well? We are obviously trying to balance both sides of the fence here.
Yeah, the Prime Minister has always articulated his views that this is not the era of war fighting. And peace is most essential to the economic development, which is a critical area. And his focus is to develop India as the third most biggest the economic power by 2047. So peace is an essential complement to economic development, and nothing can say substitute peace. And we are a developing economy. We have no option other than to support peace.
All right. Appreciate that. So, and as Europe was thrust into a turmoil during the Second World War, thousands of people were obviously displaced. Among these were Polish nationals caught in the crossfire who were forced to flee. The Kolhapur princely state, then ruled by Maharaja Chhatrapati Bhosle, took a very daring step. He created a camp at Kolhapur to accommodate Polish refugees. This camp was located at Valour village, about 500 kilometers south of Mumbai. Between 1942 and 1948, Valour welcomed about 6,000 Polish individuals. These included women, children and elderly who endured tremendous hardships. The Polish refugees had an arduous journey through the Caspian Sea. They traversed to Tehran and then to Karachi and on to Kolhapur, where the local residents welcomed them with affection and love. Valour was thus a beacon of hope during the most trying times. And after the Polish refugees departed Kolhapur, when the war ended, its significance has still been preserved via memorials. An obelisk in the Mahavir Garden Park over there stands as a symbol of friendship and love. Poland too remembers the indomitable spirit of generosity of Kolhapur. In Warsaw, a memorial to Kolhapur royal family honors the hospitality of this principality. All right, at this point in time, Shahu Chhatrapati Maharaj, descendant of Chhatrapati Bhosle, is joining us on the broadcast to talk about this. Sir, appreciate you joining us. So during the Second World War, India was also fighting for its independence. What prompted Maharaja Chhatrapati Bhosle to extend a helping hand to the Polish refugees?
Actually, what had happened is the Second World War was going on, and the whole of India supported the Allies' move to defeat Germany and the Axis. And so they were all fighting with the Germans. And the Germans and the Soviets at that time also clashed against each other and actually divided Poland into two. And at that time, a lot of refugees from Poland went into Soviet Union, which is today Russia. And through Russia, they went to Iran, and from there, they came to India. And 500 of them settled down in Jamnagar, in Gujarat. And the rest, about 5,000, came to Kolhapur in Maharashtra. And naturally, out of humanitarian outlook, we supported the Polish refugees in Kolhapur.
And so, how were the Polish refugees hosted in Valour over the 6 years they spent there?
Yeah, I can tell you in brief because I've not been reading of it lately. But what had happened, you're talking of almost 80 years back, a little more than that. There's a village called Valour near Kolhapur, and that was set aside for keeping these refugees over there. Houses were built for them, and everything was provided for them. And interaction between the Polish people and the Indians, that is Kolhapuri people, was very cordial. And so that's how they carried on for about 6-7 years before they returned to Poland.
Right, and there is a memorial dedicated to your family in Warsaw that the Prime Minister has visited. Do you think this demonstrates India's commitment to remembering the humanitarian outreach during the Great War?
The memorial is there. They have built a memorial there. There's a memorial in Kolhapur also. And people from Poland do keep on coming here on and off, not very frequently, but they have been coming and visiting me. And my family also visited them in recent years. And so the relationship continues. Descendants.
Well, sir, Poland still remembers the hospitality and compassion of the people of Kolhapur. The Poles say they will always carry gratitude for this gesture in their hearts. What would you like to say to them now?
Actually, I'll repeat my message once again, a one-line message once again, because I've told them that this many years back also in a separate interview, that the British came here to trade and they left us, they were thrown out. The British were eventually thrown out. But the refugees who came from Poland, they came as refugees and returned to Poland as friends. That is how it is.
So thank you for joining us. A pleasure having you. All right, we've just taken a little look at one heartwarming story, but that's not all. During the war, the Kinder Transport project was undertaken as well. This project helped about 10,000 children escape the brutalities of Adolf Hitler. In 1941, Soviet Union's pact with Nazi Germany broke down and an amnesty was announced, allowing destitute refugees to leave the Soviet Union. This left thousands of Polish children, many of whom were orphans, vulnerable. Urgent mobilization helped the displaced children find a new home. Maharaja Jamshri Digvijay Singh Ji Ranjit Singh Jadeja of Nawabnagar chipped in. He hosted children from war-torn Poland and prison camps in Soviet Union at a camp built at Balachari, which is located about 23 kilometers from Jamnagar. He roped in rulers of Patiala and Baroda to raise funds for these children and personally oversaw the camp's operations as well. The refugee camp at Balachari included facilities such as a kindergarten, schools, and a hospital. A special library with Polish books was also set up so that they would not forget their mother tongue. Opportunities for artistic and cultural development were also provided. Decades later, Maharaja Digvijay Singh Ji and his legacy remains alive, and he was posthumously awarded the Commander's Cross of Order of Merit of Poland. The Dobry Maharaja Memorial, located at the square of the Good Maharaja in Warsaw, is a mark of the deep respect and gratitude that the people and government of Poland have for the Jam Sahib of Nawabnagar. Prime Minister Modi's visit to this memorial highlights a special historical connection that exists between India and Poland, and one that continues to be nurtured and nourished. Joining us to talk more about this is Sumit Peer, political commentator, Dr. Vaseline Popovsky, Professor and Vice Dean of O.P. Jindal Global University, also joins us on this conversation. Sumit, obviously, India's magnanimity and India's outlook of humanity and the concept that me and you have discussed oftentimes on several broadcasts in the past, which comprises and basically nurtures the idea of Vasudev Kutumbakam, is not only a reality today, but it has been a reality 80 years ago, as much as it was 5,000 years ago.
Vinny, thank you for having me on your show. It's a very important point what you have brought in. Look, this is a part of Hindu ethos, Hindu culture, and Hindu is the bedrock of our civilizations. We believe in this. This has been practiced by our ancestors. Even Prophet Muhammad's family got refuge in India. Let's not forget that. So it starts from a long thousands of maybe 100,000 years or whatever. Today, Prime Minister Modi is kind of resonating that thought. India is resonating that feeling when we are saying it's not the era of war, it's the era of peace. And India being an important geopolitical player and superpower in making, it was a bit of a vacuum there for the last 45 years. We have not been there. So Prime Minister Modi goes there, and these ties, what we are bringing to these achievements of our ancestors, 5,000 years back, 100 years back, 200 years back, which we would have generally forgotten. But now when Prime Minister Modi goes there, they get again rejuvenated. Now, if you look at the diaspora, 2,500 diaspora, still we have 5,000 students there, a $5 billion of trade going at 30-40%. And if you look at the strategic location of Poland is becoming a very important, access point in that whole region, what is happening around. And now we reaching out to them is what ideally India should be doing, because for any such events which are happening in the world, if you're the fifth largest economy, going to become the number third, if you're the number one populous country in the world, if you have a demographic dividend for next 70 years, and in next 20, 30 years, you're going to be around $30+ trillion economy. So it is time to have your stay and have your stake in all these developments happening, be involved in the major geopolitical developments, be involved, let's say Ukraine-Russian conflict, and try to chip in your part, not to increase the conflict, not to send weapons, not to fuel the flames, but to talk about sanity, talk about how we can do development, how we can bring peace. That is what the Prime Minister Modi is doing. And that is why the whole of European Union is watching it. And even Mr. Donald Tusk has welcomed this visit, saying it's a very, very strategic visit. Our diaspora is very happy. I was watching Prime Minister Modi's interactions. Our students are happy. And let's not forget...
So the Prime Minister is also going to be traveling to Ukraine by train. What kind of a messaging is that? Is it bold? Is it diplomatic? Is it careful? Or is it keeping India's interest first?
I think Prime Minister Modi's travel to Ukraine is important because, you see, Vineet, when you are reaching that place and stature, you cannot run away or wish away the global events. If a Rishi Sunak goes to Ukraine, for example, Macron goes to Ukraine, by that logic, Prime Minister Modi has to be Ukraine and much before. And it's a way how you are saying, look, we are talking to the both sides of the paradigm. We went to Russia because we have our relations with Russians. We love Putin. We are also going to Ukraine amidst the kind of statements what Mr. Vladimir Zelensky had given, which are a bit unfortunate. But again, going there and traveling by train, we need, I believe, because if you look, there's a war-torn country. There's a lot of things which are going in the skies of Ukraine and the surrounding. So from Poland to Ukraine by train is a safer option, I believe, because trains are considered more safe in war zones as compared to the planes flying. It must be due to a security concern or an advisory or a suggestion that it's better to travel by train. Usually, even other dignitaries
and Sumit, let's not forget that there is a very serious immigration crisis that is brewing in Western Europe at this point in time. And if you look at Central and Eastern Europe, their immigration policies are quite apart from what we have seen in Portugal, Germany, UK, as well as some of the Western countries. Does that also have to do with the ecosystem that the Prime Minister is trying to, in fact, leverage at this point in time, send a message there as well? Because Eastern Europe countries are not easily penetrated by immigration issues.
Look, there is an important issue. These things are all important. We have a similar situation brewing at our borders with Bangladesh. So these are the things which are the reality of today's world. So when Prime Minister Modi will be going, he will be addressing a lot of such issues. The most important issues, like if we look at food, fertilizer and fuel, it is very important that we have Russian-Ukraine war stop or halt or come to a ceasefire, because we have a new war brewing. It's a matter of time, which is in Gulf. So then we have issues in the South China Sea. The challenge is how many wars can the world and the world economy handle? Because ultimately, if wars keep on accelerating, people will go hungry. Your food, fuel and fertilizers, if they start getting impacted. And let's not forget, Ukraine was the food basket of the world. 40% of the wheat used to come from Russia and Ukraine, which is not coming, which India is fulfilling. But eventually, with new theater of commands opening up, I really am not using the proper word with this, there's an imminent problem between Iran, America and Israel going to happen. There's somewhere down the line, there's a show-off going to happen in the South China Sea. So with these things happening, it's important that some world leaders talk sanity like Prime Minister Modi. They're telling, okay, let's stop a few things. Let's at least halt a few things which are unnecessary, because this war is completely unnecessary and it's not going to take anywhere. And the people who have suffered most is the Ukrainians. And now the world cannot say we are inclined to Russia. No, if we are inclined to Russia, Russia is our friend. We love Putin. We also went there amidst the comments which Vladimir Zelensky had against the Prime Minister Modi, which were unfortunate. But still, the dharma says, the principle of Indian logic says we should go and do our best. We should do our karma. Rest is God's wish.
Absolutely, Sumit.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.